Bugatti is one of the most famous names in the car business, and over its long history, the company has made a lot of amazing cars. On the other hand, younger car fans might think of Bugatti when they think of one of their newer car models. Still, Bugatti has a long history that goes back much further than 2006, and it includes everything you can think of. Bugatti has had to deal with a number of problems over the course of its history. Ettore Bugatti's death, which was brought on by the Second World War, was one of the most important. Bugatti went out of business in 1952 because of all of these things. Even so, it was put back into place in the late 1980s and has been there ever since. Here is a list of the top 10 most famous Bugattis ever made. Number 10. Bugatti Type 13. Great things often start out small, and Bugatti doesn't seem to be an exception to this rule that seems to always hold true. Bugatti's success in motorsports was unmatched, so the company made their first car that could be driven on the road. They called it the Type 13. The Type 13 was not only a hit for the company, but it also served as a model for the next type cars that Bugatti made. The Type 13 eventually got the nickname Pur Sang, which is about the same as saying pure-blooded. This label was put on a Veyron 16.4 car as a later homage to the model that came before it. Number 9. Bugatti Royale. The Bugatti Royale is an even more luxurious car. When it came out in the 1930s, the Royale was marketed as a luxury car with a lot of space. It's thought to be one of the largest cars ever made anywhere in the world because of how big it is. With the Bugatti Royale, sales did not go as well as the company had hoped. Bugatti only made 6 cars, even though they had plans to make a lot more, and they only sold about half of those. Since the Great Depression was going on at the same time, the car came out at a terrible time. No matter what, the Bugatti Royale is respected in the modern world. So much so that if they are ever sold at all, they sell for a few $1,000,000 each. Number 8. Bugatti Divo. Just when Bugatti released the Chiron, which was the follow-up to the other Veyron, the company decided to go even further. Bugatti decided they would not make a new Chiron that was even faster and fancier. Instead, they made a version that is more focused on performance on the track. The Bugatti Divo. Many of the parts of the Divo came from the Chiron, which is the Divo's older sibling. In spite of this, the biggest differences are in weight, power output, and technology. As we've already said, the Divo does better on the track than the Chiron and the Veyron. But the Divo has a top speed that is much slower than its competitors, so this comes at a cost. Number 7. Bugatti Type 35. Before Bugatti was at the top of the charts in the 21st century, they were at the top of the charts in the 20th century. But race cars were used instead of cars that could be driven on the road. This doesn't mean that they didn't make a great car that could be driven on the street. Any way you look at it, the Type 35 with its open wheels was one of their most popular vehicles. The Type 35 was one of the most successful race cars in the history of motorsports. This is shown by the fact that the Type 35 won more than 2,000 races when it was in use. That's an amazing number, but it's nothing compared to the manufacturer's suggested retail price of a Type 35, which is usually an absurdly high price. Number 6. Bugatti La Voiture Noire. The La Voiture Noire is another Bugatti model with a price tag that is out of this world. The price that this car is being sold for is 16.7 million euros. The only people who can afford to pay such a high price are those with a ridiculous amount of money. Still, there's no denying that the Noire is a beautiful sight. It also pays a huge tribute to the equally extravagant and expensive Bugatti Type 57 SC Atlantic, as have a number of recent Bugatti special editions. This makes it one of the most expensive cars in the world. Number 5. Bugatti Type 57. Ettore Bugatti's son, Jean Bugatti, came up with a completely new design that was used for the Bugatti Type 57, and later changes to it, including the legendary Atlantic and Atalante. Between the years of 1934 and 1940, a total of 710 Type 57s were made. In 1934, they started making these cars. These cars are as expensive as the Ferrari 250 GTO and the McLaren F1, which are two of the most expensive sports cars ever made. It's a vehicle from a long time ago, but it is so impressive that it helps us understand how much work, skill, and talent went into making it. The Bugatti Type 57 and its many versions quickly became some of the most wanted cars in the world. Number 4. Bugatti Veyron Vitesse, the exclusive Rembrandt Edition. The Rembrandt Edition is just like La Voiture Noire. The Veyron Vitesse is a nod to Bugatti's long history. But the Rembrandt Edition is not as crazy expensive as the Noir is. A great artist who unfortunately died at a young age. When you look at the Rembrandt Edition specs and compare them to those of the base model, the Veyron Vitesse, there is nothing that stands out. The same amount of power and the chassis hasn't changed. The Rembrandt Edition, on the other hand, is made in the artist's signature two-tone brown and has Rembrandt's art in different places on the product. Even so, the Rembrandt Edition doesn't add anything that will change the game. But the one-of-a-kind color and beautiful shape of the Veyron are more than enough to change the minds of a lot of fans. Number 3. Bugatti EB110 SS. During the 35 years that Bugatti was not making cars, the company was in a state of corporate limbo, and no one knew what might happen to it. Surprisingly, it wasn't a French company that helped them out of this situation. Instead, it was an Italian businessman. This person's name is Romano Artioli, and in the future, he was in charge of making the Bugatti EB110 SS. The EB110 SS, or Supersport, was a great way for the brand to get back to its old self. It was successful because it was a good mix of Italian design and French history. One of them was even bought by Michael Schumacher. But the real thing that makes the EB110 SS stand out is that it helped bring Bugatti back from the brink of extinction. Bugatti wouldn't be where it is today without this car and Romano Artioli's help. Number 2. Bugatti Chiron. Because of how well the Veyron did, Bugatti made the Chiron, a luxury hypercar with 1,500 horsepower that can go over 260 miles per hour. It goes from 0 to 60 miles per hour in less than 2.3 seconds. Also, the Chiron is a beautiful piece of art in its own right. There have been a lot of changes, but it still has the same general shape and structure as the original Veyron. The Chiron has a redesigned interior, headlights that are lit by LEDs, sharp lines, and an overall look that could be described as aggressive or angry. Number 1. Bugatti Veyron version 16.4. Even though the Bugatti Veyron might not have been their first car ever made, most people who like new cars think of it as the first Bugatti ever made. This 16.4 version of the Bugatti Veyron was without a doubt a very innovative work of art for the time that it was made. In the first place, because it broke almost every speed record for mass-produced cars. In addition to being very fast, the Veyron was also very luxurious. The fact that it was both nice-looking and high-end made it appealing to almost every car fan. Now, if you care most about luxury, speed, or design, you can get all three best in one car. And that is in the Bugatti Veyron. Thanks for watching this video. Stay tuned for more.